Watching these negotiations over the Build Back Better bill has been one of the most frustrating things in modern American politics, because you are getting a front row seat to how the sausage is made. And if you follow it closely, you know all the ins and outs and the details, and it is just as rotten and grotesque and disgusting as anyone could have imagined. So we have a perfect example of this kind of stuff today. Kyrsten Sinema took, now the number's over $900,000 from Big Pharma, and she flipped her position on lowering drug prices. She used to run for office promising to lower drug prices, and now her specific demand in this Build Back Better bill is, you better take out the provision where we lower drug prices. So, the Democrats dropped it. They dropped it. They dropped the provision. That's egregious. It's outrageous. Democrats have been running since 2006 on lowering drug prices. So you always promise it, then you get elected, then you never deliver. Are you going to run in 2048 on that as well? And why should anybody fucking believe you when you say it? But, okay, in comes the left, the so-called left, to save the day here. And they were able to work out a compromise. You're not going to believe this. So Laura Davidson says the following. News. The U.S. government would negotiate just 10 drugs starting in 2025 under a new compromise drug pricing plan, Alex Roth reports. The proposal was pitched to Democratic holdouts who have opposed previous, broader schemes to lower drug prices. So they went from, we're going to lower drug prices, to, we're not going to lower them at all because Big Pharma bought many of our senators. Menendez, too. There's a number of them. And now they're like, it's okay. We're going to compromise. What if we lowered just 10 drug prices by 2025? This is beyond parody. You wonder why Americans despise politics and our politicians. You wonder why. How can it be that after an election, you poll the American people a month later and Congress has like a 20% approval rating? We just picked those people. We just picked them. In theory, it's supposed to be, we love them. We just got them in there. And then you poll Americans are like, only 20% of the country approves of what Congress is doing. Everybody knows we're always picking among the lesser of two evils. Always. Why? Because who are they representing first and foremost? Their donors, the lobbyists, the billionaires, the multinational corporations. That's their primary constituency and their primary concern. The American people, an afterthought. Oh, do we run on lowering drug prices? What if we totally dropped it? Just kidding. We negotiated a compromise. 10 drugs by 2025. If you happen to be one of the people who takes a drug where the price is not reduced and you can't afford it, suck it up, buttercup. Do you have to ration your insulin? Boo-hoo. Has somebody died from rationing their pills that they desperately need? Is that what happened? You should have pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. This is the biggest issue in our politics. You could argue it's the only issue in our politics because it leads to all the other issues. Namely, it's corruption. It's the mother of all issues. It's the reason why we can't substantively address almost anything. What is the takeaway? What's the takeaway from the American people if they happen to see this? And a lot of them are going to see it. Probably most of them are going to see this nonsense. You know what the Democrats just did? They broadcasted to the world that they're corrupt. That's what they did. When you go from let's negotiate all drug prices and lower the prices to let's not put it in there at all to we compromise, we're going to do 10 of them by 2025, you are screaming through a megaphone to the American people, we represent industry before you. We represent Big Pharma above you. You need to keep rationing your drugs. You can't afford this shit. Well, this is the best we could do. Be an adult. Don't be immature. This is how Washington works. You have to compromise. You have to find the middle ground. It is not virtuous to split the difference between rank corruption and common sense. In fact, that is a vice. Now, the Republican Party, totally bought and owned. Totally bought and owned by Big Pharma. Totally bought and owned by the military-industrial complex. Totally bought and owned by Big Oil. But they have the common sense to just stay the fuck out of the fight and not say anything. They're out in the corner talking about Dr. Seuss or critical race theory or whatever the fucking culture war du jour scandal is. Because they know, we're totally bought and owned on the economic stuff. Let's just change the conversation. Let's go all in on the culture war. Let's pretend to be the savior of the common man and woman by defending their social values. They're smart enough to do that. They're smart enough to just change the conversation. Talk about something else. Deflect. Obfuscate. Now, it's evil, and it's wrong, and it's terrible, but at least it's not politically stupid. This is the most politically dense shit I've ever seen in my life. I mean, obviously, from a policy perspective, it goes without saying, it is abysmal. It's abysmal, it's corrupt, it's immoral, it's unethical, it's every negative word you could think of. But from a politics perspective, it's the dumbest thing you could ever do. May as well tattoo on all of your fucking foreheads, we are corrupt, we represent Big Pharma, we represent industry. 10 drug prices by 2025. Imagine being in the fucking room when they negotiated that. Imagine being in the room when the conversations were going back and forth. Well, we said we were going to lower drug prices since 2006 for all drugs because we pay more than the rest of the world, but we can't do it because Big Pharma owns us. So then we said no negotiation on any drug prices. What if we did half of them? No, we can't do half of them. My lobbyist buddy would be really pissed off about that, and I might not get paid by Merck or Pfizer when I leave this shitty place. Okay, can't do half of them. How about 100? No, can't do 100. That's, that overreaches, and I don't want to threaten my wallet in the future. Well, I'm running for re-election, and I need more money, and obviously GlaxoSmithKline steps up to the plate for that. So, 50 drugs? Nah, that's too much. That's overreaching. That's a little too socialist. You know what I'm saying? They said 10 drugs by 2025, and they expect you to be thankful. Imagine that shit. They expect you to be thankful. If we don't address the corruption, if we don't get the money out of the system, we're doomed. There's only one way around the corruption too, by the way, which is national, federal level, direct ballot initiatives. Basically direct democracy on specific issues at the federal level. Because whenever you do direct democracy stuff at the state level, 80 or 90% of the time, the common sense position wins. So for example, in Tucson, Arizona, they voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour by a 2-to-1 margin. This is the same state that elected Kyrsten Sinema, who famously voted down $15 minimum wage, like that, for the whole country. The actual voters themselves are like, obviously, $15 minimum wage. Donald Trump won Florida in the 2020 election, but the state voted over 60% to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. So when you give people a direct vote, legalize marijuana. Most of the time it comes up, it wins. The only times it ever lost were, number one, when it was legalizing it and basically giving monopoly rights to some schmuck, and when you had a billionaire flood the airwaves and mislead people about it. So it's not foolproof, but at least like 80% of the time, you'll get the right answer. So instead of just direct democracy on a state level, we should have it at a federal level. That's how you can go around the corruption. Have people directly vote on $15 minimum wage. Have people directly vote on whatever it might be. The PRO Act, so pro-union legislation. Have them directly vote on legalizing marijuana, whatever it is. You either need to do direct democracy or you need to get all the big money out of the system, the billionaire money, the corporate money. But that would require either a constitutional amendment or something that is nearly impossible to get done. But guys, this is where we're at. FDR is rolling over in his grave right now. LBJ is rolling over in his grave. JFK is rolling over in his grave right now. And he wasn't even as left as LBJ or FDR. I mean, this is comical. 10 drug prices by 2025. You could make this up if you tried. It's like a caricature. It's a parody of a corrupt party that's horse trading over lives. If this is the best we could do on this issue, just think about every other issue and what goes on behind the scenes and what kind of change we're likely to get. Jesus Christ. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.